looking forward to our conversation with you this evening. I'm absolutely sure that you're going to leave the listeners with much inspiration and motivation. So, to kick off, please share with us your success story.
Thank you, Joe. Good evening to the listeners, and good evening, Joe. Thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to be a guest on your show. I'm not so sure about the success stories. I'd rather just say my journey instead.
Okay.
Okay, so Joe, I grew up in Chatsworth. My primary school was Depot Road Memorial School.
Right.
My primary school, as I said, was here. I then attended, we had to move to another area, and I was at high school at Burnwood Secondary in Sydenham. I attended, after matriculation, I attended the University of Natal, Howard College back then. I enrolled for a BCom degree, and I was there for 2 years, and if I could honestly say, I'm a university dropout. Then my late dad's friend had a store in the Grey Street, Casbah area, a grocery store, and he was in a bit of a predicament, and I was asked at very short notice to come in and assist him at his store.
Right.
So I think that's where a little bit of the skill about business came in, because I learned under an experienced businessman. So I was, bottom line, working in a grocery store as a counter hand, and I must stress, I used to earn 1,000 a month.
Okay. Okay.
Right? I then realized that this is not going to fulfill my dreams, and I decided to join another family friend, and I started selling insurance as an insurance broker
Mhm.
for 3 years, from 91 to 94.
Right.
And then,
How was that experience?
interesting. Every day was a new day. You meet new people every day of your life, and to be honest with you, I really enjoyed it.
Great.
It's just that I had a dream to, relaunch our family business, and I wanted to take control and take the reins. So this has been a childhood dream, and that's when I started, relaunched the TG Governance and brand in 1994. So this year is 30 years that I'm in control. In 2016, I opened a branch in a completely new entity, Amshlanga Funerals. I just saw a gap in the market for a niche market. So yes, Amshlanga Funerals is ours. I'm based in Amshlanga, in the heart of Amshlanga.
Right.
And about 2 years ago, I was traveling, and my son, we were going to Belito for some reason, and my one son said to me, Dad, there's nobody in this area.
Okay.
And it was a Sunday. So I came home, and Monday morning, I Googled the name and got to CIPC, and yes, we registered Belito Funeral Directors. So that's where I started, and that's where I am now.
Great, great. So a pretty long history. It's interesting that you say that you are a university dropout.
That's the truth.
There's lots of thought out there that if you don't go to university, then you are unable to be successful. And I think you are an example there's no further truth to a saying than that.
Well, if any listener wants any mentorship, I'll be glad to groom them. I'm open to anybody that wants to learn.
No, wonderful. So there you have it, listeners. Send us your WhatsApp on any questions that you may have and any mentorship inspiration that you need on 074 345 447. That's 074 345 447. And you can also log on to our Facebook page and follow us. So, Kumar, it seems like your family business started a while ago, close on to, what did you say, 60?
1960.
Okay, so that's 64 years.
Correct.
I'll just check if my maths is correct there. 64 years. It's a long time to be in that business. So what inspired you to continue in this career?
So our family business originally started by my grandfather and my uncle, my late uncle Lagu, in Sparks Road in Overport, and then my dad, who was younger, joined in the business in the late 60s in Chatsworth, and that's how I grew up in Chatsworth. And this has just been in my blood, 3 generations. Funeral business is just in me. Yeah, I have a passion for it. I can work 7 days a week, and there's nothing more fulfilling than servicing a family at a time when they need you most.
You know, there was a friend once who shared something with me that was pretty profound, and it stuck with me for a very long time. And he said that when you give somebody your time, you actually give them a part of you that you cannot get back.
That's true.
And for me, that felt like that is the height of care. So as much as I listen to you and you say that you are in the funeral business, the way I look at it is that you are in the business of care and empathy.
Plays an
Talk,
important
talk
factor.
to me about that there, and how you navigate that space.
Okay, so as I said, it's just in me. Families call you when they need you most. So
Right.
we've got to have a lot of compassion, give them your time, care, empathy. And my phones, I'm one person, my phones are on 24/7.
Right.
I've built a network where people call me directly, so I'm never too busy to take your call.
Yeah.
I've worked all these, for the 30 years that I've been working in this job, much to the detriment of my family.
Yeah.
And they do understand that when I need to work, I need to work. I mean, surprisingly, I must tell you, I got engaged on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
After the engagement, I came back and I drove on a funeral.
Yeah.
And that's a true story.
Yeah. And there we are. How many years down the line now?
That was 1995.
So
29 years.
29 years. That's a story to tell. Eh? Well done to you, but then also accolades to the missus for
Allowing it.
correct. Having to say that, talk about that. What are some of the sacrifices that you have to make in your business, and I think in business in general?
Well, look, 30 years later, it's a little bit easier for me now, but initially I started with a very small team. I used to work myself. It was a hands-on business that I do and still up to now run. So the sacrifices I made was time and family, and I used to be at work most times. This is a 7-day-a-week job
Yeah.
and odd hours. So the family sacrifice, my kids' sporting events at school, I missed most of those. School meetings, we are parents of a set of triplets.
Okay.
So for one parent to be attending 3 different class sessions was quite a challenge for my wife because I was hardly there.
Yeah.
So I missed a lot of their sporting activities. But yes, they do understand. I'm trying to make up for it now by having a fair balance.
Yeah. I think this is generally the challenge, or I suppose that happens in most businesses. That when people do start out businesses, these major sacrifices have to be made. I share with you a story of my own, having entered the financial planning business in 1998. My son was actually 2 years old then. And I think 2 years down the line, I got home because I used to work very long hours. I got home, and my wife she gave me a little piece of paper, and she said, "This is what your son said." And what he said there is, my dad works for this particular company. I actually used to work for Old Mutual at that time. My dad works for Old Mutual. He comes home very late every night, but he buys me all the nice treats.
Well, there is some reward, right?
Exactly. So I think the comfort for that was that, look, what the sacrifices that has to be made in terms of the job that you do is come purely from a basis of wanting to be able to give your family
To provide, yes.
a better life.
Yes.
And for me to see that he had acknowledged that at that time, it was actually pretty heartwarming. But anyway, I thought I'd share that, talking about the sacrifices that you made. I know in business, Kumar, I think when we go to all these corporates and, even when we're talking to banks and we want to apply for finance and so on, one of the things they talk about is, what's your vision and what's your mission? And I'd like you to share with the learners today, with the listeners today, rather. You see, I'm so used to talking to people that deal with learners. I'd like you to share with the listeners today how important it is to have vision.
Joe, I've always been a visionary. I always thought big. In my spare time, I spend a lot of time on the internet looking at what fellow colleagues abroad, how they run their business. I'm always thinking of new ideas and thinking out of the box. When it comes to vehicles, I want to be different. I always try not to follow the race. I want to be a leader in my own way. So that's something I always thought. You got to dream big. You got to be positive. And a very good friend of mine, who's a mentor of mine, always taught me it all starts with an idea.
Right.
Once you plant the seed, that's the first thing you need to do. Another interesting thing he sent me once on WhatsApp is that they say the greatest time wasted is the time taken to get started.
Yes. Okay.
Think about that, and it's very interesting. So there's no ideal time.
So like every journey starts with the first step.
Absolutely. And something else I read, every professional was once an amateur. So you got to start.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, when you make these starts, do you just make the start and there's no falls, or what happens?
You know, through this 30 years of business, I've made lots of mistakes, and I don't look at them as mistakes. I look at them as being learning experiences.
Right.
Had I known what I know now, I would have made lots of wiser decisions.
Right.
I never had people I could go to inquire, to learn from experience. So that's why we are out here now, and we are willing. My door's always open to just share this with everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's very noble and kind of you, Kumar. I read a saying once that said, if failure is not an option, then neither is success. One must look at failure as a learning experience to be able to pick yourself up. Often I use the example of a child.
Yes.
I mean, how many times does a child have to fall?
Fall before it starts walking.
Exactly. And imagine if the child said, "Okay, fine, I've fallen now. No, it's the end of the world. I can't.
I've got lots of bruises. I fell too many times.
Yeah, yeah. You were sharing with me earlier on when we spoke about this dream and this vision that you once had.
Yeah.
And I thought it was pretty inspiring. How would you like to share that vision or that thought or that process that you had with the listeners?
The dream about getting back into my funeral business, or which was?
No, the dream that when you put up
Oh,
the legs
okay.
and
So it's a little bit embarrassing, but I just shared it with you. So as I said, sometimes when I sit back and I go onto the net and I look for new ideas, so I always had a dream of my sons driving. We used to import hearses in the past. We used to import hearses in the past, and I used to always imagine and visualize my two sons. We arriving at this container depot, and they're going to be driving two fancy branded hearses out of the container. And this dream I had was, they were still kids then, they're 21 years old now, so I'm talking about 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I must tell you, it came to reality.
Wow.
In 2021, both my sons drove two Rolls Royces off a truck, a Rolls Royce hearse and a Rolls Royce car.
Wow.
So that was a dream I had 15 years ago, and it has come to reality. It was the first Rolls Royce set here in Durban. It's a matching set, and I have a video of them both. I didn't drive the cars. I gave it to them. I said, "Y'all take the cars off the truck."
Wow.
So it all starts, as I said, you plant the seed, and
Yeah. That's a brilliant story because and in a few weeks' time, I'm going to be covering this topic about money personalities. And one of the money personalities that I've come to learn and understand is being a dreamer. But being a dreamer is different to being a doer, which is another money personality. So having the dream, I think, and following it and looking at it and trying to make it a reality is what motivates you to become to start becoming a doer. And that's what I'm hearing you say in this whole thing, that although it was there in a dream, you made sure that it comes to fruition, and it happened for you in your case.
yeah, well, positive energy plays an important role. So you have to have positive thoughts, and you must work towards it. I mean, if you're just going to sit back and be complacent, it's not going to happen.
Well, thank you, Kumar. I think that's pretty inspiring so far, and I know you've got a lot more to share with us. But for now, we are going to take a break, and we'll get back soon, and we'll take it on from there.
Jayashree Rivers have just unpacked their biggest range of saris, Punjabis, lehengas, boys and men's wear. Don't miss out on this brilliant range. You miss it, you miss out. Jayashree Rivers, Springfield, Konubia, Chatsworth and online.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Southside FM 107.2.
Hi, I'm Joe Chetty. Catch me every Monday on a brand new show called Money Matters from 7 to 8 p.m., where we unravel the mysteries of money, offering expert insights and real world tips. Start your week right Because when it comes to finances, we are not just talking rands and cents. We are making sense of your sense. Money Matters with me, Joe Chetty, every Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. only on Southside FM 107.2. Hi, welcome again, dear listeners. You are speaking. It's Joe Chetty here, talking to you on Money Matters, on my show, Money Matters with Joe Chetty. And today I have with me Kumar Covenden, who is sharing his experience as a businessman, and he's also going to share with us this afternoon what motivates him and keeps him going. Kumar, we spoke earlier on about the sacrifices that you've had to make. What about the challenges that you've faced in your career in this particular business?
Joe, the challenges, the funeral industry is not a regulated industry. It's very difficult. There's lots of compliance. There's bodies that we need to belong to. There's certain things we need to conform to, certain standards and ethics. So unfortunately, the industry is not strictly regulated. So it's very competitive in the sense that, there's lots of people, competitors in our industry. It's overtraded. So the challenge that I faced was to keep up with compliance. For example, to be a compliant funeral director, you need to have your own mortuary facilities. They need to be passed by the Department of Health. Once that's done, then you issued with a certificate of competence that allows you to trade. Then you need to be registered with the Department of Home Affairs. That allows you to be a designated registrar of deaths. You need to belong to a funeral union or body.
Yeah.
So these are all the challenges we face because lots of guys don't comply with us and then they become our competitors.
Okay. So for a youngster that's listening to us this evening, and listeners, you are most welcome to send your WhatsApps to 074 345 4447 and pose a question to either Kumar or myself, and we will endeavor to try and give you some information or answer that. For the youngster that's listening out there, that's saying, look, I want to be able to start a business. Are you saying that they must do their homework with regards to what the requirements are for this particular business that they want to get into, whether it's the funeral business or any other business?
For that matter, yes. So the first thing we need to do is lots of research.
Right.
You'd have to research your industry. You've got to know who your competitors are. What are the requirements? Because obviously you don't want to get into a business and you're unable to meet those requirements and criteria.
Right.
So those are the kind of things you need to do. Research, you need a bit of capital. I didn't have anybody to go to or mentors at that stage.
Right.
But now people have the opportunity, like people like us. Also the organization I belong to, Tamil Business Warriors,
Right.
that's why we are also here.
Great. We're going to talk about that later, but
Yes.
continue.
So so those are the kind of the major challenges I faced was the regulation and the rules pertaining to the funeral industry.
Yeah. So you're saying, I think in summary, is get the paperwork right,
Oh yes,
because that is what will keep you out of trouble.
trouble.
Because it's good to be able to do the things that we want to, but the nature of a customer is that you want to get what you pay for. And if you don't get what you pay for, then you want to be able to take it up to a body that makes sure that
Report it
you
to-
give what
yes.
what they've paid for. Great, Kumar, your business or your suite of businesses or your conglomerate of businesses is pretty vast.
Yes.
How important is it for an individual that wants to be able to work through businesses to be able to diversify what they are doing?
Look, in the 30 years, I've stuck to what I know best. That's the funeral business. I'm fortunate. I'm the third generation in our family business, and I'm fortunate that I have 3 kids, and all of them are very interested in our family business.
Right.
So now my one son has joined us on the operations side. He's running one of our offices. So he's the great-grandson of the late T.G. Governor, the fourth generation.
Okay.
So I'm fortunate in the sense that I have kids who are keen to follow, and I have a succession plan.
Yes.
My second son's studying computer science. He's wanted to take over all our marketing, so I don't have to go outside. All the marketing on social media is done by my son, AI and everything. My daughter helps me a little bit with a little bit of admin with my notices and the social media. What we've done is a few years back, we registered a company for the three of them.
Wow. Okay.
So they have their own, and I wanted to start them off early. So they use some of our cars that are not being used in the evenings, and then they hire these cars out for school dances, weddings, and things like that. So they have some sort of skill in them now. My daughter handles that banking account, if I may say so. So she handles that. So
Yes.
the kids have something to do on the side,
That's
which they use our vehicles, and they're earning some money for themselves. Yeah.
So that talks to what you mentioned to me earlier on, that money never sleeps.
Okay, so I was always a entrepreneur. At school, I started earning money. It's not nice to say this on air, but my father was a bookmaker, and my grandfather was a bookmaker too. So when I was in school, I used to make some pocket money on the side, and guys should take bets with me, right?
Okay.
So I was quite wealthy at school,
Okay.
especially when the horse runs last, right?
So everybody wanted to be your friend.
So, and a movie that inspired me was Wall Street, the original Wall Street, in the mid '80s.
Right.
And one of the lines that I will never forget, and the line went, "Money never sleeps."
Okay.
I've always lived by that. My late uncle Lago always told me, "Do today's work today." And something else my dad told me, and it went like this, right? He said, "Please don't ever give up. Don't throw in the towel."
Okay.
That day, when you decided enough is enough, I'm throwing the towel, could have been your turning point, but it's too late.
Yeah.
You gave up.
Yeah, it reminds me of a line that I read in a book called "Think and Grow Rich" by Napoleon Hill,
Okay.
and I think it's that little piece is entitled, or that chapter is entitled "6 Feet from Gold,"
Okay.
and the
We-
story.
Our business is 6 feet under.
Yeah, we don't want to get into your business. We don't want you. We don't want you to be close to us. Anyway, the story goes that there was a person that bought a piece of land
Hmm.
which was supposed to have been for mining,
Yeah.
and the poor guy was digging and digging and digging and digging, and he day in and day in and day out, and found no gold. And eventually he decided, hey, you know what? I wanna sell this piece of land, and he sold this piece of land, and within 6 feet of where he stopped was when the new owner hit gold.
Oh God.
So you can never say
Never give up.
never say die. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to continue and continue. You mentioned there earlier on that your one son has now joined the business,
Yes.
and he is now the 4th generation.
Correct.
I also recall that you shared with me a story about your wife having a conversation with him when he was 3. Share that with us.
Yeah, we found this video clip purely by chance because it was their birthday a few weeks back. So we had been going through all the videotapes that we have been recording them. And this boy was either 3 or 4 years old at that stage, and my wife was videoing them and having a conversation. So she asked my daughter something, "Oh, where do you work?" And at that stage, she worked for the bank. So she said, "I work at Imperial Bank." And then my wife asked him, "What's your boss's name?" So she said, "Oh, Neil. Don't you know Neil?" That kind of attitude. And then she asked my son, "Where do you work?" And at that age, his response was, "TG Governor and Son." So she said, "Where are you going to?" He said, "No, I'm going to work, to my office."
Yeah.
So at the age of 3 or 4, he already knew a name, a business, or he had some sort of idea. And as I said, I'm fortunate that I have a succession plan.
Yeah, and he's now joined the business.
Yes,
and,
he has.
and that talks to, again, it talks to dreams. It talks to having to set this vision and goal for yourself, that one day you want to be able to do this.
That's true. I'm glad they're following in, at least somebody's following in my step, but all of them do in some way. Like my second son also, he is into the marketing, and I didn't need to engage an outside service provider because he was willing to do it, and he does it for us, and I think he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm fortunate in that sense that, everybody's shown some sort of interest. I mean, it would have been very disappointing for me
Yeah.
if I didn't have a succession plan.
Yeah. And I know you also shared that you have a daughter that does au pairing.
Yeah,
you
she
know,
does.
in au pairing in South Africa. so they say, show me your children and I'll tell you what the parents are like. So I want to say to you, well done on being an example, because parents I believe, plays such a big role in being able to mold their children into the direction that they want them to go. Often hear people saying that children don't listen to what you say to them. They look at what you do and they will follow in that footsteps.
Thank you, Joe. But I think I told you I was working for the last 30 years. I think the credit goes to the mother.
Okay. Well done to you, Mrs. Covenden. So to talk about money, and because this is a money show, right?
Yes.
And we want to be able to motivate our people out there. And when we were having a conversation and a discussion, we spoke about money and the respect for money and the importance of it. How does respect tie in with managing a person's financial affairs?
Look, I'd like to keep it simple. I'm a very organized and methodical person. From my filing to my presentation, the way my desk is. If you removed something from my desk and I walk in there, I can tell you, you've been at my desk. I keep, for example, money. I once read a book and it said about respecting money.
Yeah.
If you respect money, money is going to respect you. For example, if I had to have money kept, it would all be kept from highest to lowest, front facing front, in an orderly manner. That's how I keep it.
Wow.
And my family will tell you if I'm missing 20 rand, it's a problem. No, not that I mind losing it, but I need to account for it.
Yeah.
I need to know where did I spend that money.
Yeah. Well, then talking about accountability, I mean, what role does it play in running a business?
It's important because you need to be able to keep track of what you're doing. It has to be done in an orderly manner, and it has to have a system in which to follow. You cannot run a business and we do what we feel like doing. So I did accounts at school, and thanks to my dad who convinced me to do accounting at school. So at this stage, I may not be able to do a full set of financials, but I can reassure you there is a system in place. At any one stage at my office, I know what's going on.
And I think it's important that you mention that, because in the money game and in the space where we are constantly talking to people about being able to create their own wealth paths, there is this thought, I feel, with having to interact with many people, that it's not my job to be able to account for those rands and those cents. Right? That's the accountant's job.
Yes.
And we are not saying that it's not the accountant's job. But having to keep your finger on the pulse, whether it's your business or whether it's your own money, forms a vital role in terms of being able to create wealth. Because the way I see it, I wrote a book called Pennywise.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I called it Pennywise is because I believe if you take care of the pennies, the pounds are always going to follow.
That's true.
And where we really bleed money, where we really come to a point where we feel we don't have enough money, is in that space where the cents are not being accounted for and all of the rands are not being accounted for. So I think it's important that you shared that with us with regards to the accountability
And
of
respect
that.
for money, yes.
And the importance of this show here is, yes, as much as we are dealing with business today and as much as you are giving inspiration to our listeners out there, what we want to also say is that if you don't know how to manage your own money, when you start owning a business, how are you going to be able to manage the affairs of the business?
Absolutely.
And it comes down to an issue of habit,
Discipline.
all those little things that perhaps nobody teaches you about. You don't want to learn that the hard way.
Sometimes you make mistakes and do learn the hard way, but if we can be aware of it, then you're not going to make that same mistake.
And the idea of Monday Money Matters with Joe Chetty is to be able to bring that to the fore. Is how do we create an awareness amongst our listeners out there that managing money is not only for the person that is an accountant,
Yes.
for the person that has a degree, for the CEO of any business. Whether we are waiting tables or whether we are running this massive conglomerate, managing money is for everyone.
It starts from yourself, how much, something else I remember reading. It's not about how much money you earn, but how much money you can save. And that's very important.
Yeah, I think it was it's Warren Buffett that said, when you get paid, first you save, and whatever is left you
You spend what's left. Correct.
But most of us tend to do it the other,
Other
way
way
around.
around.
First we spend, and then whatever is left we save, but then there's nothing left to save, and then we wonder why the savings rate in our communities, in the country at large, in our own families, is so little. So Kumar, turning to the issues of the actual funeral business, and to talk to our listeners about what needs to be done in the event of a person dying. Can you share with the listeners what needs to be done when a family member passes on at home due to natural causes?
Okay, so it's quite a wide topic and explanation, but I'll try and keep it simple. So we probably will have two scenarios. You asked about natural causes. So in the case of a natural cause, the first thing that we need to do is to get a medic or a doctor to come out and confirm the passing, because we're unable to do a removal from the residence or wherever if it's not confirmed. A person could have been assaulted, which may not be visible. It could have been an unnatural cause, which you cannot see. So it's very often you try to get your doctor, but nowadays it's difficult to get a doctor, sometimes at odd hours, so you'd call out a paramedic. Once they confirm the declaration, then we are allowed to do the removal. The other situation you'll end with is if it's an unnatural cause. If it's an unnatural cause, we cannot touch. So then you'd get the police to come in, SAPS. They will arrange, open a case, inquest, and allow the deceased now to be taken to the state medical legal laboratory, where they will perform an autopsy.
Okay, that's great. And then what happens if a person passes on in a hospital of natural causes?
So that's a lot easier because the resident staff and the resident doctor will do the necessary certification, and then we would be allowed to take care of the removal. So that's a lot easier because you have those trained staff in their employ.
Okay. And in the cases of perhaps accidents, where there's unnatural causes, what happens in that scenario?
So any unnatural accident, murder, suicide, as I mentioned, the police come in and they take over. The deceased would be moved to the forensic medical legal laboratory for post-mortem to be conducted. Once it's there, then we would step in and we will follow the procedure. Yeah.
Take on there. Okay. No, thank you. Funerals are said to be quite expensive. They can range from
Small
from
to
the
large.
bottom to the top, small to large. Yes, yeah. And I think people worry about if a situation like this happens, what do they do? What are some of the things that can be done to be able to take care of these challenges?
Look, today funeral policies are everywhere. Everyone's doing it. It's a topic that's discussed all the time, and I think this is pertinent to your show, which is Money Matters, which is important that one should have a funeral policy. What type of policy you have is very important, because sometimes you may have a policy but not knowing if the benefits are adequate enough to fund a funeral in the need or when a claims arises. So one should look at taking a funeral policy. Two, they should ensure that their benefits are in line with the current prices and situation. And they should also do some homework on the organization that they're dealing with or the institution. So if you're buying it from a bank or directly from the insurance company or from a funeral service, you've got to ensure that it's underwritten. You need to know who your underwriters are. Like ours, for example, is underwritten. Our premiums are paid directly to the underwriter. We hold no funds. It's all done by debit order. So these are the kind of things you need to know. But yes, funeral policies are very important. Something else which has become quite common with us now is that it's a very sensitive subject, but a lot of clients call in now and they want to do pre-arrangements.
Okay.
So it's a subject that's not easily discussed. So no one really knows, like you asked me, what is a procedure now. So lots of people don't know that.
It's just like a will. People don't want to do their wills because
Exactly.
it's a morbid subject, but yeah.
So they would come in and they want to know the options.
Okay.
What happens when this happens? What happens when that happens? What are my options? What's the cost of this and what's the cost of that? Because very often with the community that we deal with, the immediate family is not really involved and consulted at a time when a death occurs. It's often like the brother of the deceased or the neighbor or the cousin. They take over.
Because you're too busy
You're too
grieving.
emotional and grieving, right? So, and they think they're helping you, which I'm sure they are, but the immediate family is not consulted with decision making.
Right.
So it's important that, we've had this, it's getting quite frequent with me now, where they come in to know what are my options. If I don't want this, what's better than that? Or if that's too much, can I step down? And what's the cost of this? So that they have some idea. And people have prepaid their funerals with us.
Yeah, well, interesting because I know that in my space that the will is one of the documents that will give some sort of direction to the people that are left behind as to how to take care of their assets and the things that they own. But I'm hearing you say here that if somebody wants to take those kinds of responsibilities away from their family, because you've got so many family members, and it can sometimes become an aggressive scenario.
True.
There could be fights and so on. I'm hearing you say that they can come and sit and say, look, this is how we need things done.
Look, it's a free consult that we offer. You're more than welcome to come into our offices and discuss all the options that you have.
Yeah.
And yes, it's, as I said, it's a free service we offer. You're more than welcome to come in, and at least we are able to give you an idea of what it's all about.
Yeah, today I had a client that had visited me, and we were talking about the issues of wills, and then we were talking about the challenge, not the challenges, but what is it to do in terms of making sure that the funeral expenses are taken care of. And the one thing that they mentioned, which they had probably had thought about, was that the funeral or undertaker makes a decision as to whether the person must be cremated or buried. Share your thoughts around that.
Look,
Please.
that decision is a family decision. We cannot influence that decision. If it's their wish to be cremated, we need to fulfill that. If it's their wish to be buried, we need to fulfill that. But the only challenge we face in Durban is that there's a shortage of grave space.
Okay.
So in as much as you may want to opt for a burial, we have challenges in obtaining a gravesite. So that's probably why sometimes people think that they need to swing towards a cremation.
And I suppose maybe in a scenario like that, a suggestion probably comes, and not a decision. A suggestion comes
It's probably a suggestion, yeah.
to say,
I'm sure my colleagues out there, other funeral directors, will probably just suggest for convenience when your back's against the wall and you have no other option but to opt for a cremation, yeah.
no, wonderful. As we walked in here, we were just chatting to a colleague about the issues of funerals, because they saw this fancy, remarkable gentleman that owns these funeral companies, and of course we started talking about funerals. And the question that came up is that if somebody has a funeral policy at the moment,
Yes.
what options do they have if they want to transfer from one funeral directing company to another?
So let's use company A and B. If there's a client that's been with company A for some time and they're quite satisfied, then obviously they would remain with them. But for any reason, if they want to move over to company B, they are entitled to. What's important is that they would need to provide proof of insurability to the new company that they have been covered with a particular underwriter, not the funeral company, but an underwriter. So in other words, that we use company A as an example. They need to prove to us who the underwriters are and if they were covered. We would then use that as proof with company B and waive the waiting period. The general industry norm with the funeral policy is 6 months in our industry. So we can have that waived if you can show me proof of insurability.
So the possibility of being able to move from one company to the other
It exists, yes.
Other exists. Well, Kumar, I think thank you. That was most enlightening. You've shared with us so much. Some of your own stories. You've shared with us what to do in the event of someone passing on. We are going to take a very short break now, and when we come back, we're going to talk around the issues of networking and how important it is. So, listeners, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back to discuss and close off.
Ubuntu Radio with Dr. G, your gateway to social cohesion and nation building. Tune in exclusively on Southside FM 107.2 every Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m.
Hi, I'm Joe Chetty. Catch me every Monday on a brand new show called Money Matters from 7 to 8 p.m., where we unravel the mysteries of money, offering expert insights and real world tips. Start your week right, because when it comes to finances, we are not just talking rands and cents. We are making sense of your sense. Money Matters with me, Joe Chetty, every Monday from 7 to 8 p.m., only on Southside FM 107.2. Welcome back, listeners. You're speaking to Joe Chetty with Money on Monday Money Matters, and my guest this evening again is Mr. Kumar Covenden, the CEO of a very big network of funeral directors. Kumar, they say, but before I talk to you, Kumar, about what they say, I'm going to encourage the listeners again to send us their WhatsApps if they have any questions for Kumar on 074 345 4447. That's 074 345 4447. They say that no man is an island. And they also say that your net worth is equivalent to your network.
That's true.
Business can be a very, very lonely road often. Share with our listeners how important it is for one to be able to network with others.
Look, to do business, you need a network. How would people do business with you if they do not know you?
Right.
So you've got to be out there. I'm invited often to functions, to events, and I always try and attend these events. Once you're there, you get people, you meet with people, people get to know you, and people want to do business with people that they know, people that they're comfortable with. I can confidently speak about our business at a time when people need you most. They want to deal with someone they can trust. So why would you go to somebody that you do not know at a time like this? You'd rather deal with somebody that you do know. So the secret to our business is, one, I do a lot of networking, attend events, I get invited to lots of functions. That's very, very important, the networking part. And the other thing is I have a very hands-on approach in our business. So to date, 30 years later, I still conduct and go on funerals myself. People feel comfortable just seeing me there. I may not need to necessarily do lots of things, but the fact that I'm just present, it's a small, hands-on, family-run business. So, yeah, it pays off.
So it really depends on, I think in some cases people say, or it is said out there that, you should be the face of the business at the very early stages of your business. But the attitude that you have adopted is that you want to be the face of the business for as long as your business runs.
Well, that's the problem I have. I've been doing this all along. Look, as I said, I have a passion for it. I love what I do.
Right.
So for me, it's enjoyable.
Right.
I know it's not an appropriate word to use with this particular type of business, but yes, I enjoy doing my job.
Yeah. Look, and I think they say passing on is part of the life cycle of your life cycle,
Yes,
for a person's
yes.
life cycle. So it has to happen at some stage, and I think whenever any one of us reaches that point, we want to make sure that it's done with real respect
Absolutely.
and with dignity, and because this is your final send-off. We spoke about the issues of networking and how important it is for people to network. But to be honest with you, Kumar, there are so many networks out there.
That's true.
How do you choose a network that's the right fit for you?
Look, I found comfort in the network that I belong to. So I belong to the Tamil Business Warriors. We are an organization that was established just over 5 years ago, and I head the KZN chapter. It works for me. I know there's many other networking organizations out there. It works for me. I enjoy how it operates. I enjoy the events we have. We have a women's chapter as well. So do we have a youth chapter. And the youth chapter is very important to us, because if we do not groom the youth and to hand the baton down to them to take over, then we're going to come to a dead end. We cannot go on until the end doing this.
So in the Tamil Business Warriors, how how do you accommodate the youth, especially because that's the area that I think needs the most attention.
Absolutely.
How do you accommodate youngsters that want to get into the space to be able to grow their networks?
So there is a team that's already handling the youth. There's Kian that heads it. Yulisha's the deputy. There's Deesan Woodley there as well that helps them. They had an event, I think 2 weeks ago, where they hosted an event in Durban. And they had, because of advertising it, they had an attendance of about 80 people.
Okay,
80.
that's a good number.
It was a huge success, and there were lots of new faces, which is very important because instead of seeing the same faces over and over again, the fact that there's new faces tells you that the name is out there and people are willing to want to come in and explore more about this organization. So yes, we had speakers. Mr. Vivian Reddy spoke at that event. An attorney from Pata and Pata spoke there. There was somebody from Standard Bank that spoke there. So just to motivate the youth, because youth sometimes we find that maybe they think they're unable to approach anybody.
Right.
So we want them to know, yes, we're there, we can assist you, but you need to come forward.
Yeah. Sometimes it can be intimidating, when you start out as a youngster and there you see Kumar is this very highly successful person. How do I go and talk to Kumar? What is the mood like in your network, in the TBW networking space?
Yes, I agree. The youth sometimes may feel intimidated to approach the more senior, older, if I may say so, members. But we try and attend the youth events as well, just to break the ice, to create some sort of relationship and interaction. And we make it known that we are accessible. So there is no such thing, and this is an old boys club. No, TBW is accessible to anybody.
And I think that's good information. That's great information, actually, because there is also some thought that, look, if we have to join a networking group and we are youth, then that means we only have to do business with youth. Share something around that there?
Not necessarily true. So if we network and the youth feels that they see an opportunity with us, yes, we would get involved. They need not have to deal with youth only. Their business may require somebody from the larger group, and if they interact and find the opportunity there, by all means, yes, we will ensure that we do put the deal together for them.
That's good. And then when it comes to the TBW group, are they only based in Natal, or what's their reach?
So we're international.
Right.
We have chapters in all provinces in South Africa.
Right.
Western Cape, Eastern Cape, Johannesburg, Limpopo, Mpumalanga. Internationally, Mauritius, Reunion, UK, Malaysia, Singapore, London. So we've had some conferences. So our first conference was at Empress Palace in 2018. 20, 21, we couldn't do anything because of the COVID issues.
Right.
2022 KZN, we hosted at Sabaya, our conference, sold out event. 23 was hosted in Cape Town, and we look very excited and looking forward to our next conference, which is in September in Mauritius.
Well, that's great. It sounds exciting, and
There are lots of opportunities in Mauritius. We took a delegation there in 2021, and we flew out with 65 or 63 delegates on one single flight to Mauritius, going out there for opportunities. Yes.
from South Africa.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. And I think youngsters, if you are out there and you are listening, rest assured that there is a place that you can go and look for mentorship. You can even interact with people there that will be able to guide you. And the cherry on the top is that you'll be able to do business with some of the people that are successful and in that space there.
Absolutely. And we have if you're a registered paid up member, we have a WhatsApp group.
Right.
All members, if any opportunity comes up, they would post on that group. And our rule is we got to engage and interact with a paid member within our group first
Right.
before we step out.
Okay.
So any opportunities come up, it's going to be posted on the group. The youth will see it, and they will find the opportunities.
Yeah, when one starts out a business, as I said earlier on, it's a very, very lonely road. And to be able to source the right people to do business with is the most difficult part. It's being able to find that customer or that client that you want to do business with, and to find somebody that's the right fit for you as well. Unfortunately, I think when we start out with everyone and anyone, and we just hope for the best. And I think this seems to be a platform that might be able to give somebody a head start in terms of finding themselves, in terms of finding the space that they want to be in, and in terms of finding the right clients that they're looking
Absolutely. Because we try and vet all our members. That's why I say you've got to be a registered paid-up member. Not necessarily you're going to be given the admission to become a member. You would fill in a form with our admin division. The forms would come into us. We'd vet the application first.
Okay, so then what you're telling me is doesn't necessarily mean that you take on every application that comes through.
We have to vet them.
Okay,
So we are also reassured that if they're going to doing business within the group,
yes.
it's safe.
Yeah, and I think that's really reassuring, especially for somebody that's starting out, because it's so easy to fall into
A trap.
a scam and a trap, and you outlay money, and you have all these fancy things, because at that point in your life you're quite vulnerable.
Absolutely.
You want to make this
Every
thing work,
opportunity,
so you'll
exactly.
do everything that you have to. So
Every
there,
opportunity sounds good at that stage.
that's right, and you kind of justify why this is the best, the best thing. Whether when you have business partners, you try to convince them that hey, we must go for this, and we are saying there's a platform that you can deal with people that are authentic, and that are able to show you in the right direction.
Correct.
Good. So before we move on into our concluding space, Kumar, is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about the TBW Network Group?
They can reach us, Google us. You'd find the contact numbers to get hold of TBW. You can Google me and get hold of me directly, and I'll link you with the admin to become a member. I'm hosting an event on the 3rd of April.
3rd of April?
Yes, it's called a Biz Connect.
Okay.
Watch my social media and Facebook pages. We're going to be hosting an event at one of the restaurants in Umhlanga. Our last event that we hosted in November drew a crowd of 130 guests. 130.
That's brilliant.
So I'm hoping to beat that number now. People come in there, they introduce themselves. We have a keynote speaker. They'll be able to tell everybody in the crowd a bit about their business. You need not have to be a member to attend. There would be an admission fee, obviously, and it would come with a meal as well.
Okay. No, thank you for that. So people out there, keep your eyes peeled, look at your socials, and whenever you see Kumar's face anywhere there, make sure that you connect with him so you can get invited to these networking sessions and be able to grow and develop your business. And we are now took this very short break, and when we get back, we will conclude our business for the evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts because we're about to take your sonic journey to new heights. Prepare for the Friday takeoff as we embark on a musical adventure on Flight 107.2. Soaring through the beats every Friday night from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. only on Southside FM.
Hi, I'm Joe Chetty. Catch me every Monday on a brand new show called Money Matters from 7 to 8 p.m., where we unravel the mysteries of money, offering expert insights and real-world tips. Start your week right, because when it comes to finances, we are not just talking rands and cents. We are making sense of your sense. Money Matters with me, Joe Chetty, every Monday from 7 to 8 p.m., only on Southside FM 107.2.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Southside FM 107.2.
Well, welcome listeners. Welcome back. You are on the Monday Money Matters with Joe Chetty. And I'm again speaking to Kumar Covenden, who is here today to share his words of inspiration and share a little bit about what to look out for when somebody passes on. Before I get into the concluding remarks, I would like to reiterate and put this disclaimer out that none of what we spoke about this evening must be regarded as financial advice. We are merely sharing with you some of our ideas, and we want to be able to disseminate some information so that we can inspire somebody out there that's thinking of making their lives into a success, and thinking of, in this particular case, how is it that they can start and maintain their businesses. So Kumar, we've reached almost the end of the show, and I think firstly, before we ask for your concluding remarks, I want to say a very big thank you. I know you are on call 24/7, so you've taken time out of your very busy schedule to come and share your words of wisdom with our listeners, and it was very inspiring from all three aspects: your story, what's happening in the funeral business, and what must be done when people pass on, and also you were able to share about networking. So thank you very much for
Thank you, Jim.
giving your time up this evening. So in closing, what are your parting shots for our listeners out there?
Okay, so my 30-year journey has not been easy. I had lots of challenges along the way. But two words I can tell the listeners out there: you got to be strong and resilient. I mentioned a few things earlier about the story my dad told me: don't ever give up, because that could have been the day when it was your turning point. Do today's work today, what my late uncle taught me. Do not procrastinate. And more importantly, what works for me is that I enjoy what I do. I have a passion for my job. I wouldn't trade it for anything. If any of the listeners that want some sort of assistance and mentorship, they're more than welcome to contact the station. The station will give them my contact details. So if there's any youngster out there that really wants to explore some opportunity in business, I'll be glad to share my advice with you.
Thank you, Kumar. I think that's great of you. Let's just see. Somebody has sent us a WhatsApp here. Let's see what it says. There we are. Where are we? So it says, loving the show, really love the energy, and thank you for the updates from Karisha. Good vibes, good energy, great show. Wishing Eric Kuppen a very happy birthday, the Chetty family, and congressional well done to Senthil. I think this was for the gentleman behind us, or before us rather. So yes, thank you very much once again. I think to conclude, I would think when you said there you love your job, I would think of I think it was Henry Ford that mentioned it. I could be wrong. That if you love your job, you will never work
A day in your life.
Yes. So and also what you mentioned is if you need help, ask for it.
Yes.
Because if you ask for help, somebody is bound to give you. So thanks again, Kumar. Thank you for spending your evening with us. And thank you, dear listeners, for listening to us. You were on the Monday Money Matters with Joe Chetty, only on Southside FM 107.2. Good evening and goodbye. And we will see you, not next week, we'll see you the week after on the 8th of April. Next week is Easter Monday, so we are all going to be taking a break. Thank you, good night, and God bless. Hi, I'm Joe Chetty. Catch me every Monday on a brand new show called Money Matters from 7 to 8 p.m., where we unravel the mysteries of money, offering expert insights and real-world tips